So today my wife Misinformation and I decided to do a little July 4th activity and drive up to Helen, which is about 90 minutes from our house, and then drive from Helen, Georgia up over the Unicoi Gap, then taking a left, going up the valley and up to Brasstown Bald, which is the highest point in the state of Georgia at 4784 feet. I think that's what it is. Anyway, it was a very interesting drive. I'm going to supply the entire video here, probably fast forward through a few of the more boring sections, but the big thing I'm going to do is put a table of contents down, and what I'm going to do is the interesting parts I'll put an asterisk or an exclamation mark or some sort of obvious thing at the beginning of each of the interesting sections. So if you don't have a 70-minute time period to watch the entire thing, then you can just watch those parts that are the most interesting. We do have a freak out, right? We had one freak out in the trip, so a small one. I don't know. Otherwise, it was pretty darn good. And the other really interesting piece of this puzzle is that, you know, we're not even counting this. We wanted to do switchbacks and all sorts of crazy things, but the drive to and from Helen has been completely on full self-driving beta as well. By the way, this light looks super cool. Got the light coming through in rays from the back. But anyway, so that also counts as part of the full self-driving. I would say that the drive was incredibly successful, and it really was actually pretty confidence inspiring. So anyway, watch the video, see what you have to say about it. Happy 4th of July, even though it'll be belated by the time this is released. And yeah, tell me what you think about it. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All and Misinformation. Misinformation. We are going to stress test the full self-driving in a little bit different spot. This is inspired by James JOWUA and Dave Lee, mostly James JOWUA, who was talking to Dave Lee when he said he did a drive through the wine country with full self-driving, and it was really great. And I was like, oh wait, so this is Helen, Georgia. We're coming out of it right now, and I'm gonna put it into full self-driving right now. So we are now in full self-driving. The car is driving itself. Just as an FYI, I'm legally in charge of the car, so if anything happens, it's my fault, and so I've got one hand on the steering wheel. I am not driving. I will definitely let you know if I disengage. You can see this little blue steering wheel thing means that it's got full self-driving engaged. Anyway, the idea for this, you'll see this car, that was interesting. This actually moved out of the way. Anyway.
Oh, it did that? I thought you did that.
Yeah, the car moved out of the way, yeah.
Okay.
I may, just to try to make this a little bit better, the only unfortunate part about this is if we get stuck behind somebody really slow, it can be a problem, and this guy's really slow. So I may take it out of full self-driving to get around them, just so we can get a better idea of how this car drives on its own. Because the whole point of this is, you can see a little bit here, but there's a ton of hairpin turns. It gets very, very steep going up to Brasstown Bald, which happens to be the highest point in the state of Georgia. It's not quite a mile high. It's like 5,200 feet. It's really close to 1 mile above sea level, but it's the highest point in the state of Georgia, so that's pretty cool. But more importantly, there's a lot of hairpin turns going up to the Unicoi Gap, and the Unicoi Gap is, the Appalachian Trail cuts through it, so it's actually a really nice day hike to go on. Anyway, it's unfortunate we're stuck behind this car because they're going very slowly, and I really want to get a sense of how the car itself handles these turns. It seems to be doing really well so far. You can see we're at the bottom of it. We have to go up. I don't know exactly. I think the Unicoi Gap is somewhere in this area here. Oh, good. Okay, that was actually good mountain driving. I can't even believe it. Wow, nobody on the East Coast does that. Everybody out West does. So I'm gonna knock this down to the actual speed limit, because as opposed to most places, the actual speed limit here is a pretty good indicator of how fast you can go. Most places you can go a lot faster than the posted speed limit, but here it makes sense. You can see the road is a little bit wet, but anyway, it looks like it's mostly fine. And we're a little concerned, obviously, because it's a cloudy day, and we just wanted to try to make sure that we got the drive in while the roads were still reasonable, because it's twisty enough as it is. So thus far, now that we're out from behind that other car, it seems to be driving. This is actually really nice. It's doing just what James was talking about when he was talking about with Dave, and I'll put a link to that in the description, by the way, if you haven't seen it. but he was saying it does really good deceleration and acceleration as it goes in and out of these turns. So again, I've got this hand normally on the steering wheel, but it's just resting there. And if you see a thing that says move the steering wheel a little bit, it means I'm not, you know, giving it quite enough resistance so that it knows that I'm still here, but it's doing that. Anyway, so the path up over the Unicoi Gap, yeah, you can see right there. Up over the Unicoi Gap, then down the Unicoi Gap, then we take a left and we go to Brasstown Bald and we go up. There's one part of Brasstown Bald that is a 25% grade. I've biked it before. It really sucks. In fact, I don't think even back in my prime, I was never able to bike that section without getting off the bike. And that's like the only place ever that I've been to a place where I couldn't bike up it.
Really?
Yeah, it was just impossible.
And we're gonna go.
And we're gonna go there. You'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just one little section. It's very steep, but then one section kicks way up. So anyway, we did charge up the car completely before we left this morning because I'm sure there's destination chargers around, but there are no Tesla superchargers. So anyway, it's funny because going up here is going to use a lot of battery because we're going up, but then coming down, at least in the past, we've done this before, not here, but in relatively the local area. Anyway, when you come down the mountain, it actually gains mileage, which is kind of funny. So you actually get some miles back again. Certainly don't use any because it's regenerating as it goes, but that's a nice
But how
bonus.
do you gain?
It actually charges up the battery because you're coming down such steep slopes.
How?
It's regenerating.
How?
That's the reason why when you put your foot off the accelerator, it actually slows down.
But how does just going downhill?
Gravity, baby.
How does it? I mean, I get it not using the battery, but how does it charge the battery?
Well, that's the reason why when you take your foot off the accelerator and it starts slowing down, it's regenerating power. It's feeding power back into the batteries. Look at that. We learned something. You learn something every day.
I feel like there's a lot more to unpack in that, but
well, we have plenty of time here. By the way, I did not take this, but this information took Boney. She is not, her stomach does not cooperate with windy roads. So she was a trooper. I told her I'd just leave her in Helen and she could go shopping for a couple hours, but she was like, nope, I want to do it with you. So actually not a couple hours.
I want to see it.
It'd be like
And
1 hour. It's
I'll
like
let you know how, what's the motion sickness sensitive the drive is. So far it's good, and I'm not gonna get on my phone or I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna stay looking.
Well, you can see here we're starting to get to the place. In fact, I'll there we go. I don't know. I think this is actually more interesting. But now that I got like a closer up, you can see how we're starting to get. When we get into the high stuff, we'll get into the hairpin turns, and then it'll be really interesting. Thus far, it's been driving really well. I feel bad for the guy behind us because I'm probably going a little slower than he wants to, but I guess he can pass me if he wants. If I get to another spot where there's a turnout, I will. I'll let him go by.
You could probably
the
speed limit up a little bit here.
Well, we're just about to hit the.
Okay.
You know what? Actually, he's a big truck. He'll slow down when we hit the mountains.
Yeah.
So, in fact, he's slowing down right now. So yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, he would probably want to go around me, but actually, in all honesty, he probably won't because he'll be going much slower through the turns. This car can take it. Okay, now we're getting to the beginning of the windy part. So let's take a look at how. Woohoo! That was a little late, gotta say.
Did it recognize that the speed limit is lower now?
Yeah. All right. So again, I am not driving any of this. It is driving it all. I feel like it's a little bit center biased at the moment. It's kind of riding a little close to the double yellow lines over here. And yeah, the truck is starting to. Okay, dude. Okay, so here's the first of the biggies. So this was what James was talking about, making a 15-mile-an-hour hairpin turn. So we will see how this goes. All right, braking a little bit later than I would have braked into it. That's interesting. It's using its turn signal. Did not need to do that, but ooh, okay.
Okay, can you go?
Yeah. Okay, I wish that truck wasn't behind me now, but
John.
I'll next time I get to a turnout, I'll get away. So yeah, because I'm slowing down. All right, a little hesitant. It made it through, but I would not consider that fantabulous.
I thought it was a complete turn.
Yeah, I think so. Since it turned its turn signal on. Yeah, this truck is the only guy following me, so I will take it out of full self-driving if I find a spot where I can pull over, like right here.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just doing this to let this guy by, and then we'll continue on. All right. Re-engage. Hopefully it'll re-engage. Okay, yeah. I was like, that was a pretty rough place to have it re-engage, was right into a turn. All right, so I disengaged that, but that was just to be a kind human being. That would be an interesting thing if full self-driving could eventually get to a part where it would drive mountains properly in terms of, ooh, jeez. Wow. The car was actually driving really well. That guy was getting really close into our lane.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the concern.
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
it's doing well. The only thing that 15-mile-an-hour hairpin turn is the only thing that's been less suboptimal at this point. It actually feels really confident going through this. I mean, this is maybe 5 miles an hour slower than I would drive it, but I'm also a pretty aggressive mountain driver. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times with me recently getting used to this is that I don't lack confidence in the car. I mean, there's some weirdness that it does jerky at like the turn back there, but I don't lack confidence in the car. I lack confidence in the other people, and the car is like, no, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
But then other people come into your lane constantly. And
right. It just kind of doesn't have that thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to slide over just a little bit. This is a little slow. I'm not sure why it's going quite so slowly here, but.
Well, the speed limit's 35.
Yeah, but we're also going 20.
What? Why are you trying to get over?
I don't know. This is the full self-driving.
Why is it trying to get over?
Don't ask me. Oh, it's because the lane was ending. I think it knew that. So, yeah. Although I'm not sure officially which lane is ending. But
is there a lane ending?
Yeah, we're down to 1 again.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm not sure which lane was ending, but whatever. So, wow, this is really fascinating.
This is a pretty simple though, other than it just being windy.
But this is also, I mean, okay, let's take a step back here, because the autopilot, like the vision system, is having to recognize a very non-flat road. Like this is going up substantially from where we are, and Brasstown Bald will be even worse than this by a long shot. And it's having to deal with turns, and it's having to deal with the fact that the road is banked. So this is not, and we've got different light conditions as we go under these things. So yeah, for a human being, it doesn't seem like it's that complicated except for the turning. But for the vision system of this thing, it's pretty crazy. And then also the control system, like just the turns and everything. This is an incredible challenge. So I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's like, well, this is no big deal because it just follows the road and it just turns and there's no traffic. But this is actually really, really difficult because we've got roads that are constantly changing like this. What would that be? The roll? Yeah. The roll is changing. We've got up and down. We've got blind corners. Here we've got this thing where it's going to split into 2 lanes. And I have no idea what the car's going to do. But anyway, pick a lane. There we go. But now see that dip and then we go around. So these are really, really challenging for a vision system. And I'm very impressed it's able to handle this. And for the control system as well. I don't usually talk about the control system in the car. I was thinking about that while we were driving up here to get to Helen, and how the control system is not something we talk about anymore, but it's because it's mostly a solved issue.
What's the control system?
That's the actual driving, like the steering and the acceleration and everything. So all of that stuff is really complicated for a situation like this, and it's handling it really well. Oh, rhododendrons, very pretty. Oh, my ears are popping so bad. We're gaining a lot of altitude here. All right. So eventually what we're going to do is get to the top of this pass and, see if it's still, check on the camera and make sure it's still running. I'd hate to lose this. Sorry about the jiggling. It would be lovely if I had a direct output out of the view, but hard to do. And of course, this is a pretty jiggly drive. Anyway, but we're going to get to the top of the pass, which is where the Appalachian Trail crosses it. And then we're going to go back down. The other side is much more sweeping and less hairpins. And then we'll go forward and take a left, and then we'll turn right to get to Brasstown Bald. Like I said, I haven't done this in years, but I used to come up here and where the Appalachian Trail crosses, so you can hike right up there. It's a good, really nice hikes, just day hikes out of here if you don't want to take the whole Appalachian Trail.
So are we going down?
Now we're going down. Yeah, so we're going to go down. We're going to make a left. We're going to go through the valley.
Ooh, that's way confident.
Let's maybe knock it down. Like I said, so this side, it's much less hairpin, a lot more sweeping turns. So fingers crossed. Again, I don't know. So now you can see we're actually recharging. Like the battery is actually recharging as we go down. But anyway, I don't expect this side of the mountain to be nearly as crazy. But that's pretty good. I mean, that's a little...
Should it have slowed down that much?
I would have slowed down maybe 5 miles an hour less. But I'm not considering that bad. I would rather feel overconfident in the car rather than feel like it was pushing the edge of the envelope. So, and we've got old tires. It's just about time to replace the tires on this car, so I don't really want to like go crazy on the speed. The good thing is nobody has been behind us, so we haven't been disturbing anybody, so that's good. That was cool. It actually it right by us just a little bit into that turn, which was actually the correct behavior. So, and now we got some hairpins coming up, so it's interesting how it kind of ignores those 20-mile-an-hour suggestions until it gets a little further into it. But, yeah. So again, not driving, car is driving. So again, like the vision system, even though this isn't really a super hairpin turn and very small, we're now going down, and the roll of the road is changing, and we're doing blind turns, and it's really impressive. Like this, I don't know. I don't know how to emphasize this enough, how impressive it is that this car is able to understand this type of road. This is a very complex type of road. And again, for us human beings, it may not seem that way, but for a vision system, it's really, really complicated. And now that my ears pop going up, they're popping coming down again. So anyway, once we get to the valley, when we take a left, for a while it'll be kind of boring, so I'll probably fast forward through that part unless something happens. But it kind of drives up the valley until we turn right and go up Brasstown Bald. But we're almost down now. So I would consider the hairpin turn, the 115-mile-an-hour hairpin turn, it was like iffy. And assuming everything is still working, what we're going to do is get out and wander around Brasstown Bald, assuming that the weather holds out. But we're going to do this whole thing backwards. Wow, that was actually pretty fast. It took that. Wow. So anyway, we're going to do the whole thing backwards, and so we'll come down that hairpin turn again too. So on the way back, depending again on how it's. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love how it's kind of like being really careful, and then it's like, no, I got this now, and it gets really confident and really.
It's like no problem at all. I can handle this. All right. Wow, that is so cool. That's about the best we have in Georgia. We don't have a lot of really good mountain passes, but that's a pretty decent one. It's a lot of fun. There's another one called Hog Pens that's somewhere close to here that I think is even more windy. So maybe
one at Vogel State Park.
Yeah, I was thinking like if people like this, I can try to seek out a few other interesting things. So let's see how it handles this left-hand turn with oncoming traffic. I don't know why. There it goes. I feel like it turned on its left turn signal a little bit late there, but it was slowing down. It obviously understood, but all right. And there's a car here, so all right, cool. All right, it got it.
That was
excellent.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty decent. It was a little bit, it was like something like that, but it's not bad. So, now we'll come out of here. So again, like I said, more than likely, I don't know, there's probably not going to be too much to say till we, I guess the turnoff. I don't remember where the turnoff is. Anyway, until we get to the turnoff up to Brasstown Bald, it won't be all that interesting, but because this is a pretty nice road. But yeah, so doing well so far.
This is part of Georgia's scenic drive, though.
There you go. Yeah, the one thing I'm worried about is you can see the clouds up there are starting to get a little iffy. And certainly since Brasstown Bald is the highest point on in the state, it's going to attract the clouds. So it may be kind of.
Is it only 6 minutes there?
Yeah.
Oh.
The actual Brasstown Bald, I know this because I biked it. The actual drive up Brasstown Bald is 2.5 miles. So it's like, so we got about 2 miles before the turnoff.
It still does weird things like that.
Well, I think it saw the cars coming and so it was hesitating. So yeah, so there was a little braking there. I wouldn't necessarily call that phantom braking because it saw cars, but it was over aggressive. It didn't really need to brake there.
What I find to be interesting, and I think this has to do with you knowing the tech and me not knowing the tech,
right,
is that you're very impressed with this, and you're like, you know, this is impressive, this is, you know, this is what it takes to make all this happen, and this is why this is so impressive. And for me, it's like, no, I've been told this car drives itself. I expect it to just drive itself. Like, do you get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I don't know what all is involved in that, and you really geek out on the, you know, even if it gets janky and it messes up, you're like, do you know how hard that is to make that happen? And I'm sitting over here like, no, the car should work, like it should do what it's supposed to do.
There are beta testers and there are not beta testers. Actually, it was really interesting. I was watching, oh gosh, Simon Sinek, something like that. It was an older video. It was a TED Talk. And my business partner sent it to me. And he was like, this is really interesting. And he was talking about, oh my gosh, what were we saying? Sorry. That there are he was talking about information diffusion or innovation diffusion. And he was saying the very, very, very small percent, like there's like a couple of percent of people who are the innovators, who actually invent new tech or new ideas in whatever given area, and obviously we all change. And then there's like a 13 or 14 or 15% group of people who are the very early adopters, who are happy to use things, buy things, whatever, that are not ready for prime time yet. And that those people are super important because they'll buy things before they're even ready. And so when I talk about like a person who's like a beta tester by nature, that's kind of what I'm talking about, is the person who is willing to use it before it's quite ready for prime time. And so, you know, that's exactly what we have with Full Self-Driving Beta, although, I mean, honestly, it's getting so much better. Like when we do our trips back and forth to see my parents and everything, it's just ridiculous how few times you have to actually interact with the car. So yeah, it's very interesting how all that works.
I think what I'm not quite sure of yet is if we're, you know, like earlier, what is that?
Goats. There are goats on the side of the road.
Nice.
It did not visualize that, but we'll have to remember that on the way back. I certainly do not want to test out full self-driving versus a goat.
Because it came up several times on the way home from DC, because I don't know why traffic was so bad, but we had so many people coming in over on us,
right,
you know, into our lane.
Oh, geez, yeah. And
so there were some times that it was really drastic, and it caused me to have to, you know, get out of full self-driving to like maneuver. And I'm wondering, because we've discussed it several times, that there's a lot of times that the car reacts. It's kind of like being a backseat passenger, backseat driver, whatever,
right,
like where you want to react about half a second before and so we do that all the time. Like we feel like the car should have reacted about half a second before we do. But I'm wondering in those situations, because I never seem to be able to be brave enough to let the car do it itself, because I guess we're paying attention to what's happening.
Right.
So we see that somebody's coming over in our lane, so we interact, you know, and engage to try to keep it from happening. But so I haven't seen the car do it yet, and that's something that I'm always, after it's over, it's like, well, would the car have done something in that case? Would the car have reacted to that? But I don't let it, because I'm not, you know.
Sorry, is this it? Nope. Okay, not it. I'm actually worried that this thing is not going to turn us up Brasstown Bald. It's only going to get us to, because I think we're going to have to go that way. So I wonder if I can tell it to.
Well, we'll have a sign.
Well, I'm just going to force it to go that way. Okay. Unknown location. Bless you. Bless you. All right. wow. I was like, there's no hairpin turns or anything. So.
But so in those cases, the car would react. It's just that I'm not letting it get to that point.
Yeah, it's a little bit. But it also, there's safety and then there's comfort for the passenger or the driver. And I think the comfort for the driver is the place that it can get a little bit wonky, because I may take it out of full self-driving just to make this turn if it doesn't do it automatically, because it still says it's calculating. There's nobody behind us. But one of the factors, like one of the loss functions for driving, has got to be passenger comfort. It can't just be, like, the car has to be safe, number one, but then it has to make you feel good. So those jerky, janky left-hand turns and stuff are not comfortable. And so that should be considered a loss when it's training. So, okay, again, I'm not positive it's going to make this turn. Okay,
should you turn your blinker on? Should you turn your
I think, sorry.
on?
Oh, jeez. I don't know why it wasn't going to make that turn. So, sorry. I did have to disengage there, but let me just get it on the path. I think it was going to actually go up to there. All right, folks. Oh, this is terrifying. This was the part that I was worried about. I wasn't really worried about, oh my goodness, let's knock this way down. Yeah, I'm gonna, so I don't know if it's gonna register in the video, but this, not quite yet, but it gets really, really steep. And the thing that scares me, honestly, more than this direction is coming downhill. I'm really worried about it. Because if I've done this before, like biking, and coming downhill, my hands will cramp. I can't hold the brakes hard enough to keep the bike from accelerating. And you can see if you miss, you go right
Wait, you're
off.
worried about the car? I'm not worried about the car at all.
I'm very worried about it going down. We haven't hit the really steep part yet. So anyway, you can see you can see what's happening. We're gonna do a lot of weird, funky hairpin turns, and there's a super steep place. I think it's called the wall. I think that's just what it's called. By the way, the rhododendrons, if you've been noticing through here, it's a really nice time of year because they're, okay. I don't want it to hit this guardrail. That would be very bad.
Doesn't it recognize that there's a...
It does. It has the ultrasound. You can see it shows that it's got something that's recognizing them. All right.
I think for me...
All right. Again, it's handling it. I just, honestly, if it didn't have this guardrail beside us, I would not be nearly as worried, because I wouldn't worry. Okay. Now the guardrail's not there anymore. Although it's back again.
I'm really only worried about the car when there's other cars around.
Oh, interesting. So, but one of the things here that I don't know about, and here we're getting to like really, really steep coming up, is I just like this kind of grade.
Did it stay in the road? Did it stay in the middle?
It definitely
It went out.
a little.
Yeah,
it shifted a little. So it's still driving. I'm not doing any of this. But the grade is so steep that I worry about the vision system not being able to understand it. Because this is not normal roads, right? This is getting very, very steep.
It sees the car, though.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's doing great.
I mean, it should see the car. I should.
That would be hopefully a baseline expectation.
I only worry about this car when there are other cars around for it to potentially hit.
Right.
Like, this feels comfortable to me because I'm like, there's not a lot of people around.
Right. It seems to be handling this really well. And a little bit concerning that it's wet here, but that's okay. Rhododendrons up there, you can see them blooming. Yeah, I mean, it's doing great. It's slowing down. This seems like an adequate amount. I'm trying to remember where the super, super high grade is.
Well, here's one.
Yeah, I think this is it. So anyway, this is like a 25% grade. And again, it's probably not registering in the video, but this is very, very steep. And the car's handling it. Obviously, it's got the torque to do this because it's got electric motors, so no big deal. But now it's going to have to negotiate a complete 180. Not hit the guard railing.
Interesting, it's not recognizing this as a turn.
Right, interesting. Wow. Okay.
It did that very well.
I mean, this is
Kudos.
really freaking good.
Good job.
We're going up into the clouds, man. So I think what we'll do when we get to the top, assuming it doesn't start pouring on us, is maybe get out, stretch our legs for a minute, and then start the filming back up again and come down. I do want to try to get the downward part of this before it decides to rain on us, because I'd really like to have a chance. I don't really want to drive down this in the rain myself, like no way, because again, it's just very steep, so it could be slippery. But anyway, I do want to see how the car handles the downward part, because this is very, you know, the upward part has handled very well, but upward is often easier than downward. Nicely done. This is really good. Looks like we have one more major hairpin coming up. I don't think we can go all the way to the top. I think what happens is there's a parking lot here that we have to stop at and park. But
I would look up the weather, but I don't want to
yeah.
look at my phone yet.
Wow.
But
We are going right up into the clouds. Yeah, we're like pretty much right up into it. I think the good part about this is when the weather's really nice, I think there's a lot of people that come up here, but probably because the weather's kind of crappy. It's not that popular.
Can't see anything. I think when you're at the top of Brasstown Bald, you can see several states.
Yeah, it's too bad, because this is actually a really beautiful view. There's like a, it's not like a fire tower, but like a big tower that's up at the top. So anyway, I don't know, maybe because of the cloud cover and stuff, we'll just turn around and keep on going. So all right, final major challenge here. And again, nobody's around, so I not that they would be driving faster than this anyway. Very pretty, even in the clouds. Feels a little bit like Volcano National Park, because like it's really cloudy there, and there's a lot of sort of rhododendrons and palm trees, and that was good. It actually slowed down well for that. Okay, here we go. So again, very challenging to do this, both in terms of the control system. Wow, it actually center biased slightly, which was kind of nice. That was nice. It just rode that double yellow line, which, assuming nobody else is coming, was kind of the correct behavior.
If someone had been coming, would it
I'm sure it would have jogged out of the way, because it just did that before with that other guy. So wow, I'm really impressed. like there was that one spot where it had that funky little turn at the bottom of the very beginning of the whole trip, but aside from that, it's been really good. And handling this, no problem at all. Obviously, again, it's able to just like completely stick the speed limit. Yeah, this is the part I'm talking about. I don't believe that we can go past here, even though Brasstown Bald is. So down there is the parking lot where I don't think I can quite see us anyway, but it's really pretty up here, especially with the clouds. I've never been up here when there's been clouds before, so it's always been very sunny. So anyway, highest point in Georgia right there. Obviously the highest geological point is somewhere down there. I don't know exactly where, but anyway, so you can see, I can't remember how many states. It's like Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, something like that. Anyway, pretty cool. So if you're ever in North Georgia, it's definitely worth a visit. Yeah? Right?
Yep.
Cool. Ah, 4th of July. Got the flag. Alrighty, folks. I guess we'll give you a little bit of a super quick thing about Brasstown Bald up there. Had to hike the last little bit of it, but we are now ready to come back down. Let me put in Helen, Georgia. And yeah, let's give it a shot and see how it goes.
Ooh, okay.
All right, off we go. I love how it just ignores those signs that say go 10 miles an hour here. So anyway, like I said earlier when we were coming up, I'm a little bit more nervous about going down than up. I don't know. I think it's probably
great. Next 3 miles.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. Anyway, you can see, I know a lot of times people like to see the view of the car like big, but I think this is cool to see for this particular drive, so that's why it's doing it. So anyway, again, you can see rolling, all that stuff. By the way, we're recording this on the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July to everybody in the U.S. Happy Independence Day. And apologies about the sound of the car. Even though the clouds were out, it gets hot in the car. It's only 22 out, so I was right. I was like upper 60s, low 70s.
It was a very pleasant hike, though, because the clouds were on, and as soon as we got down to the bottom, the sun's come out. So
yeah, so we managed to miss the hot stuff, so that was nice. Anyway, that handled that really, really well. That was a pretty snippy turn there. Did well with snarky turn. I have no idea. Anyway, you can see the really big hairpins coming up in a little bit, but and again, I have my hand on the wheel for legal reasons, but the car is totally driving this itself. So yeah. Oh, wow. We better put it into low gear.
The car doesn't have gears.
No, it doesn't. That was a joke.
Okay.
But it's fun. I could pretend to put it in low gear. I could make the engine whining
It doesn't
sounds.
feel like the air coming out is very cold.
Yeah, well, I don't have it set super cold. I was trying to make the fan not blow really loud and annoy everybody. So you can see how it's regenerating power. So it's actually gaining mileage as we go down this mountain because it's actually regenerating. Now, I don't know, at some point
Did you look at what the mileage was when we started?
No. Oh, well, it's 167 now.
Okay.
And we should be going, well, we'll have to go uphill. But I don't know, let's see at the bottom. I don't know if it'll actually gain a mile, but it certainly shouldn't go down.
He's not on camera because I feel like you'd have to go way too back to the basics. I would like for you to explain to me the whole idea of generating miles.
Let's get through this hairpin and
down.
then we'll do that because we'll have boring time.
I don't want you to do it on the
Oh no, I think people are interested in that.
Go too far back.
Let's see how this goes.
My ears are popping.
So yeah, I know, right? So it's only regenerating a little bit. I think it's actually using a lot of actual brakes on this drive.
I was going to say, it feels like it's riding the brakes.
Yeah, I think it's not using just regeneration. I think it's actually riding the brakes here, which is good. That's fine. Like I said, coming down this on my bike, my hands would actually get cramped up because it was so hard to keep from going too fast. So, and now, all right, buddy. Oh, I mean, this is actually really good. That is very impressive.
Wow.
That was like super smooth. Again, maybe a couple of miles an hour slower than I would do it, but actually I've got it locked in at 25, so, you know, it's not... I don't have any desire to have this thing decide. Oh, actually, see, we're up to 170 miles. We actually just gained 3 miles.
How?
Because we're regenerating power. It's magic. It's so much better.
Okay.
It braked a little bit. I think because that car was coming, it had to sort of recalculate the angles, but that was still fine, just a little bit jerky. But yeah, so we're actually gaining mileage. Try that in a gas car, right? See if that happens. I just realized this thing's been in the way the whole time. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see if we gain any more miles before we get to the bottom. Ooh, my ears are popping so bad. Whew. By the way, it was only like, what was it, 4784? So Brasstown Bald was a little bit not as high as I thought. So not even 5,000 feet. The state of Georgia is not exactly known for its super tall mountains. But still, this is pretty fun. They used to, what was it called? The Tour de Georgia. That was how I found out about this whole thing, was they used to race that. It was a warm-up race, I think in April of each year, for the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it was a it was a warm-up race, and this was the finish of one of the days, was the top. They would race up to that tower up there. So the real bike racers can handle these 25% grades. I'm not so good. Only one spot. But I wasn't like I was winning a race or anything. I was just surviving. Anyway, wow. Look at it go. This is so impressive. I'm super impressed by this.
I'm not impressed by this.
I know.
Again, we talked about it earlier because I feel like it should just, this is what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. This,
You're amazed by the tech? You're impressed at the tech? Or just where the beta is? You're impressed?
I'm amazed it's doing this. This is incredible. This is really hard. This is hard. Would you put Hayden on this road? Like, we have our son's just getting his learner's permit this week. Would you put him on this road?
I haven't put him outside of our driveway.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think you'd let him drive this road for at least a good 6 months after he got his learner's permit. It's one of those things where if you don't do it right, you can get into really big trouble. So, how are we getting to Helen? Oh, no. I'm going to turn left. Sorry, I'm going to disengage it because I want to go to the left because I want to go over the Unicoi Gap. But anyway, yeah, I know. So anyway, I'll re-engage it in just a second because it'll force it to go that way. Anyway, that's me just because of navigation, not because of anything except that. All right, now let's go to Helen again. Take me the correct way this time. All right. So yep, there we go. You can see how it's gonna go. So I have a feeling the next, like, what was it, 4? Yeah, it's like 5 miles till the turnoff. So probably I'll just blast through this unless the goats decide to come out and play in the road or something. Otherwise, we'll just get through this and get to the part that's interesting. Otherwise, peace out. Whew. Man. All right. So, regenerative. So the way an electric motor works is you run electricity through the motor with alternating current or direct current, whichever one. You run electricity through the motor and it magnetizes the windings of an electromagnet, which then causes the electromagnet to push us. This is just one way of doing this, but anyway. So you've got windings on the outside, that's called the stator. You've got actual magnets on the inside, that's called the rotor. And what you do is you just alter the current in different parts of the stator on the outside. And what that does is it causes the magnets to keep moving to try to like get to the next spot, but you keep changing them, so it's chasing it around and around and around. So it's chasing the magnetic field around and around, and it causes it to go. So that uses up power. So battery, electricity, whatever it is, it uses up that power. But the really cool thing, oh my gosh, we've gone up another 3 miles. The really cool thing about motors is that they run perfectly well backwards too. So what you can do is, if you have an external force like gravity turning it, that then generates a magnetic field inside of those coils of wire, and you can then siphon that electricity off of the coils of wire, which causes resistance, which is why the car starts to slow down. It creates resistance, and so it makes the car go slower and slower because it's resisting that rotation. But at the same time, you can actually feed the electricity back into the batteries, or I guess into the electrical grid or something if you wanted to. But anyway, so it works both directions. So we've actually gotten 9 miles back on this drive so far. So actually we've been driving and gaining mileage. So the deal with a gasoline car, of course, is it's always burning gas no matter what. It has to idle the car, so it has to sit there and operate all the pistons and everything like that. So it's constantly using gas no matter what. But this is
I think that all goes back to me not understanding how just electricity works. But
well, it's electricity and magnetism together is the reason why all this stuff works. So if you run an electric current through something, it creates a magnetic field. And if you run a magnetic field through something, it creates an electric current. So they go back and forth. So that's the thing that's super cool about it, is basically...
But this car doesn't have a motor.
It's got 2 motors. It doesn't...
What kind of...
It doesn't have an engine.
Oh, okay.
So an engine is something that has combustion inside of it, like a steam engine or a gas engine. A motor is like, I mean, our vacuum cleaner.
Like, okay.
Yeah, vacuum cleaner, our blender.
No, I get it.
The washing machine, all of those things have motors.
It doesn't have an engine.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But so what it's doing is it's just, I mean, it's... We have that runs now. So like if you had like a battery-powered vacuum cleaner, right? One of those Dysons or something like that that spins the brushes and does the suction thing with batteries, it's just like that. Or actually, wait, our Roomba, right? That's the same idea as this. It's spinning motors based on a battery, and then you plug it in and it recharges the battery, and then it's able to keep on going. So it's exactly like that, just on a really, really big scale.
Okay.
Oh, we've actually gone down a mile. I was hoping we'd gain like 10 miles on the way back.
Well, I mean, we're also driving, so...
Yeah, it's just we're not on this quite as steep a slope anymore, so it's like regenerating. And
what you probably should do is think about how many miles it was from there to here, and then see how many you actually used.
Right. Well, I mean, we've actually gained mileage because I think we were at 166 or 167. We were at 167 towards the top. So, anyway, pretty cool stuff.
I'm only mildly car sick right now, which is saying a lot for me.
I think you'd actually probably would have been more car sick if I had driven.
Yeah.
Because I'm so aggressive about it.
No, that's what I'm saying. We've done things like this a lot, and
Yeah.
I've been like, you know, really, really sick after.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and I take Dramamine and Bonine pretty regularly.
Right.
But I'm only mildly feeling an issue right now.
This has actually been very, very confident. I really think, honestly, the only moment that I had any worry at all was that first hairpin turn in the Unicoi Gap.
I wonder how it'll take it
I
going
don't know.
backwards.
Because it's also the inside, so it's even narrower than the other direction was, so we'll see.
Well, it was trying to treat it like it was a complete turn.
Right.
Which was interesting because it saw the signs. But so does it read all the signs? Does it read that sign and recognize what's coming up?
I don't know. It doesn't visualize those signs, so I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. But why does it visualize is it because speed limit signs are white?
Yeah,
And
it just knows the speed. It actually, even the ones that are like recommended speed limit signs, it doesn't seem to obey those.
Well, but the recommended speed limit signs are always yellow like those.
Right. So I don't know.
Is it something to do?
It's also possible that it sees those, it just doesn't put them up. It doesn't display everything that it recognizes. So like it may very well recognize that turny sign, but it doesn't show it up. And then the interesting thing would be here if it starts to slow down because it's not visualizing the stop sign, but
is it because they're yellow though? Does it
I'm sure it understands
because I mean
that.
it looks like it's blocking out all of this noise, but if it sees
Right.
a speed limit sign, it doesn't block that out.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something that says, hey, these are important.
Yeah. But the other thing is it doesn't do everything. It only visualizes. Oh, that's going to slow us down a bit. Oh, that's going to slow us down a ton. Oh, it's too bad we didn't get out just a couple of seconds earlier. I'll be curious to see if it goes after this gray car because there is another car coming. Ooh, and a motorcycle.
It's actually a motorcycle, but they're turning.
Oh, wow, that was interesting. I don't know if that was.
Okay. But you
All right.
didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything. I was about to, but I didn't. So, actually, I don't remember how long we have 2 lanes on this, but hopefully we'll get around the truck at least, because otherwise it's going to be a slow drive.
This is fast.
I know.
This is fast. Can you
I'll trim it back a little bit.
trim it back? I don't want you to try to get in front of that truck, John. I'm serious.
I'm not driving. I turned it down.
The speed down.
I did.
It's too fast. This is too fast.
It's got to go down when we get to the steeper part.
There's too many cars.
Okay.
It's too fast, John.
All right.
And that car's... John, please slow it down.
It's okay. We just hit the 45.
Jesus. I don't want it to pass this
We're in a
truck.
2-lane road. It's okay.
Yes, but the car
This is the nervous driver person. This is very confident. I've had no problems whatsoever with this.
John.
Just hold on. It's doing its thing. It's going well.
Oh, not John. There's a semi literally right beside us.
I know that.
John, engage.
Oh my goodness gracious.
No,
Fine.
John.
I'm driving it.
It
now.
wasn't okay just then.
It was fine. I'll get around this guy and I'll re-engage it.
That wasn't okay.
You're a very nervous passenger.
It was gonna do one of those jerky things in between the semi and that other car.
It's all right. I'm gonna get over into the slower lane in just a sec. Oh, here comes a cyclist. Good deal.
Those cars are gonna.
We're doing a test. I'm gonna get over. I'm gonna force it. Okay, dude. Let's wait until we get around this cyclist first, though. All right. Got some aggressive drivers back there. That would be you being a nervous driver. No. Oh, we got the guys out for fun. I can tell the cars. They're the ones who are, they try to drive this at like super high speed. That guy was doing a really good job. You're having a lot harder time this direction.
There's a lot of cars on the road.
Yeah.
And I have a serious problem with us testing around other cars actively trying to drive the speed limit and navigate. And so that is what.
We're doing okay. There's a motorcycle back there, but nobody else. So actually, he better hurry up or else we're going to run out of lanes. Yep, he'll get around us.
Good for you, dude.
Do you know sometimes there's police that hang around on these roads and like bust people? Because a lot of people try to get up and down these as fast as they can. There's like a competition for it. So that was pretty interesting. You were way more interesting than the car was. It was driving fine.
John.
Well, I'm a little surprised. What is this guy doing? Alright. I have no earthly idea. Alright.
John, there's a car behind you coming up on your tail end.
I'm paying attention. You're having a lot harder time this direction. There's a lot more traffic, I guess. But on the good end of things, there's only one lane the whole way down, so there's nothing to be done about it. I feel like it's actually handling this really well. It was getting a little sketched out between the problem was it needed to pass the semi-truck and get around him so it could be more comfortable with that part. That would be, what would you call that, a strategic mistake? Because what you want to do is get through that as fast as possible, not have to get stuck in it.
I was not okay with the semi situation that was happening there.
Yeah.
And then
Well, that's what I'm
trying
talking
to
about.
pass
Being
on an
a strategic
extremely.
mistake. It was doing fine though, passing, because it was just not aggressive enough about passing. Was the issue. I don't know what's rolling around back there. Sorry about that. Something's loose. Wow. It's actually slightly biasing the inside of the turns to make it better. That is really cool. Very cool. So you can see we're coming up on the hairpin turn. Are you checking to see if it's still running? You're hoping it stopped so we don't have the exclamations. Oh, you found. Oh, it was the boning. Speaking of what was rattling.
I take back everything I said about being car sick earlier. Take it all back.
Major car sickness. Well, the good end of things is we're almost done. It's only a few miles left of this. If it makes people feel better, she hates driving with me in this stuff too. What are these guys doing? Oh gosh, they're just gonna cause problems, I can tell. Well, this is the reason why, like, driving can sometimes be challenging because of human beings. Like, at least they got moving before we got there. I was worried that they were going to get stuck behind us. So there's a van back behind us, or no, SUV. Anyway, it's not driving this as fast as the full self-driving is. We've actually been gaining ground on it. So just to put this into perspective, like, it seems pretty crazy, but the car is handling this better than human drivers are, a lot of human drivers. So it's pretty amazing. So I guess we're not to the Hairpin yet. Anyway, it's doing this so well. This is crazy. Like, it's really impressive how well it's handling this. You're not impressed anymore, are you?
Well, I never feel like I'm impressed because I feel like it's supposed to be doing this, so I'm not impressed with it, no. But I'm not excited because I made my body get all tense back there with the semi situation. Because if it had to try to pass the semi in a place where we weren't coming up on a curve with another car coming at us and it coming around the curve, then I would not have been as dramatic.
Right. Well, like I said, it's the problem with full self-driving is the midterm planner, and that was the midterm planner's fault. Because it should have been, that should have thought about what was going to happen in the next 20 or 30 seconds and fixed the problem. And so that's the area that they have the most.
That's a long way down.
Ooh, that is. There's a pretty good sized berm here. And plus the fact we're turning this way, so if we drifted, we go that way. All right, almost to the big turn. That guy did catch back up with us, by the way, so I feel a little bit bad, but he doesn't seem to be in any kind of super rush, so. All right, here we go, 15 miles an hour. Wait, nope, there's two of them.
Yeah, this is
there's a first one and then a second one. So again, you can see how we're making this sort of turn. All right. Oh, there we go. It's America. America. Oh my gosh.
It's a Jeep Caravan.
It's a Jeep Caravan. Oh my gosh. Oh. Everybody with an American flag. It's America.
That's a big Jeep.
Yep.
Whoa.
Ooh,
okay.
Don't know what that was. I don't know. I think it thought that the lane got a little bit bigger. I don't know. That was a little jerky. It was okay, but it got a little jerky. All right. It seems to be handling this turn better this direction than it did the other.
It did.
Yep. That was much better. I think the other way there was like a turnout lane back there, and I think it might have gotten confused by that and thought that there was two lanes it had to deal with. But very good. Okay. Well, so we had the misinformation disengagement back there going up the hill, because I was like, okay. I was pretty convinced you were about to have a heart attack, so I was perfectly happy, by the way. I was like, I think the car's doing fine. It was just getting a little bit hesitant about getting around the truck. But
apologies, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like in those circumstances, I guess that's where I had the hardest time letting go.
Right.
From it.
Well, it's also hard because any mistake immediately.
I'm also fine with it making whatever kind of mistake it wants to make when we're like this, but when we're sandwiched between a semi and another car,
there's a lot less room for error.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, it goes wrong. By the way, just making a point here, we started off at the top of Brasstown Bald, I think, with 160.
Why is it slowing down?
I think it's.
Dave, there's a car. There's a car behind us coming up on our butt. Hit the gas.
We're good. He was being gentle. All right. Yes, that was. I don't know what that was. Some sort of weird. I think it saw the stop sign and was confused. Anyway, but I just want to point out that we actually have more mileage on the car now than when we started at the top of Brasstown Bald, which is pretty cool. So you're very much not. You don't have a beta tester's mentality. You're like, this should work. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's why it didn't work.
I handled that very well, with the exception
of the truck. Hey, it was sketchy. I'll tell you, there were people coming the other direction. The semi truck was on the inside lane. We were kind of. The problem was it sort of passed the semi truck and then it slowed down. And what it should have done was just kept going a little bit faster. So that was a problem. But anyway. So unfortunately, we have to register one disengagement, but I would call it more of a comfort disengagement than a safety one.
What would you?
Well, it wasn't a safety one. I didn't think that we were just about to have a problem that was going to cause us an accident.
Okay.
But it was definitely a lack of comfort.
So you're essentially saying it's a lack of my comfort.
Well, I wasn't comfortable either. It wasn't fantastic. But I guess since I was the driver, I knew that at any point I could take over and I could fix it. So By the way, this is higher speed limit, and it's handling this all very well too. A little bit too close to the outside there for my taste, but yeah, very cool. So I don't know, what are your what's your review? Because there's no reason to keep filming it now because we're back on the easy stuff. What do you think
About
the whole drive up and down? How did it do?
well, I mean, considering what it was back, I don't know, when you first
Right.
got it. I mean,
And considering what any other company on the planet could do.
I
right?
mean, obviously, it's really freaking impressive. Like, it's, you know, I still have issues at certain points, but that's because I feel like I'm not, I feel like it should just work. And
Right.
you get the whole data part of it and that you're going through. And so,
But another thing to remember is October something was when we got full self-driving, and it certainly wasn't this good back then. And so we haven't even had it for a full year yet. But just think like another calendar year, like July of 2023, if it keeps improving.
there's no question that it has improved. I mean,
a lot.
yeah, there's just like there's no way to explain exactly
Right.
how much the fact that I went with you.
Yeah.
To
I was
do
actually very impressed. I thought for sure she'd be like, nope, just turn me loose in Helen, I'll go shopping.
The fact that I'm comfortable enough to, and obviously I'm not 100% comfortable yet, but the fact that I was comfortable enough to like go up there and then come back
Right.
is saying a lot. But you know, as I said, going up, I feel like that I don't mind testing it either. Like I don't mind doing that. It's when other vehicles
Right.
get involved that I start getting a little bit more antsy, because I feel like as a driver that I can't just assume that everybody else on the road is going to be doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
And so that's my issue as a driver, is that I could do everything exactly right, but that doesn't mean the person on the other side is going to be doing that too. And so I'm much more cautious of what everybody else is doing. We've had this conversation before.
Oh, yeah.
You, as a driver, you're very confident, and you're like, even though you know it's not going to happen because accidents happen, you drive with the expectation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Everybody else is doing what they're.
Right.
Please go. There's no reason for it to stop there.
It's okay. Nobody's behind us. That was a little bit of an aggressive braking there.
But you drive with the assumption that everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do, and I drive with the assumption that there are a lot of people who don't know what they're doing and aren't paying close enough attention.
Oh yeah.
That I have to pay attention to them. So we're very different drivers in that aspect.
Right. I will say, like, I think the proof in the pudding here is that we've just had a conversation going like 40 plus miles an hour down this windy road, and except for that one spot right there where you're like, go. It was like, it's pretty amazing to trust the car enough to just be like, yeah, it's handling it.
And again, I'm not worried about the car stopping at that point. I'm worried about the person coming around the corner,
right,
and us being there going unusually slow for what somebody should be going in that area and hitting us.
Yeah.
And so that is my concern. It's always my concern.
It's a worthy one. So yeah, I think overall, except for a couple of funky little weirdnesses, and one of them going up next to the car, which it with the truck, because again, it should have figured that stuff out and adjusted itself to that.
All those people are having to walk their tubes
Oh, really?
because the rivers. Whoa! What was that?
A little bit of a wide turn. Okay, but
Jeez.
Anyway, aside from that, and a couple of moments like that where it felt like it was a little aggressive into that turn, I think it was really great. It was not quite up to James Dama's like transcendent standard, but I think with a little bit more luck, it actually would have been. I think the most of the weirdnesses have been caused by traffic, and it just, it has a little bit of trouble with that. But the fact that this car is driving on crazy windy roads, dealing with traffic as it is, and not having a problem is just impressive. this is incredible stuff. I mean, this car has been driving the whole time we've been talking, except for that one disengagement. And yeah, it's got that sort of little weirdness.
What's that?
Anyway, I don't know. It's still, you know, it's not perfect. It's still beta, but it is really, really getting there. So I'm really impressed by Tesla full self-driving. Kudos to everybody for doing such amazing hard work. I don't know, honestly, if anybody's ever done full self-driving on that drive that we just did before. So we might be the first, we might not be, I have no idea. But anyway, if we're the first, that's pretty cool. So hopefully our data will be helpful to make it better in the future even. So anyway, all right, we have kept you all for a really long time. Have a lovely day. It'll not be the 4th of July by the time you see this, but happy 4th of July in retroactively. Anyway, all right, we'll talk, and we're back in Helen, so perfect timing. Bye-bye.